Hello, welcome. We're back looking at Godot because I am not going to be skipping any of the material, so it might be a bit longer because there's a whole entry, small entry, that just goes over instancing more, and then the next one that goes into a bit of detail, shall we say. It's a bit dense, but we'll get through it. So instancing, going back over that, has it has its uses. You can subdivide scenes, make them easier to manage. You can manage and edit multiple node instances at once. You can organize and embed complex game flows or even user interfaces. And a thing to remember about instancing in Godot is that that is its preferred method of organization. The node system and instancing are how it wants to organize things, not via MVC or entity relationship diagrams. It wants to have things laid out like this, where you would have market, that's part of the HUD, that's part of the stage, obstacle, that's part of the stage, weapon, that is part of the player ship, part of the stage, weapon instances, a bullet, it's part of the stage, so on and so forth. And to think of they want you to think of your game in terms of visible elements that can be thought of by anyone. This is something we saw with default too, where the other parts are sort of subservient to the parts you can see. Personally, I'm not much of a visual person, which is why some of the stuff that's coming up is going to come naturally to me, but I'm going to try to explain it plenty to you, the viewer, in case you're not too familiar with coding, because it kind of throws you in. It doesn't throw you in terms of a lot of code, but it sort of assumes that you know what it's talking about. But I get ahead of myself. A lot of time is spent programming games or software is designing an architecture and fitting components into it. That is true. I have spent I've spent so much time just sitting staring at my idea folder, my idea text file, staring at my existing code, going, okay, how do I fit this into what I have? Designing based on scenes replaces that approach and makes development faster, supposedly. I can certainly see an appeal to it. It makes the way they've arranged it makes sense to me. Here's one where you can have a table that's on a base that's on a table, and a table and chair in a room, which is in a house, which has a door, which is in a citadel, which also has a church and guards, which is in part of a terrain that also has a bridge and a player on it, which has a HUD. And information overload, oh, you don't even know the half of it. And while that loads, you create a new project. This is, I forget what I'm going to be calling it. Yes, you can use Godot officially with 4 languages of sorts, and you can extend it or have use other people's extensions to use it with even more languages. The main languages are GDScript and VisualScript. VisualScript is like boxes and lines, but I get ahead of myself. GDScript is a bit like Lua or Python or Squirrel, which I've not heard of. It is fast. The editor integration is good. I've looked at it a bit. It is pretty good. It has vector types built in, which is a little helpful. It supports multiple threads, which is good. It does not have a garbage collector, which is interesting. So it says it trades a small bit of automation. Most objects are reference counted anyway. reference counted anyway by determinism. I mean, if it works, it works. And the dynamic nature makes it easy to optimize sections of code in C++, which is covered elsewhere later, if you need more performance without recompiling the engine. You have Visual Script, which is new with Godot 3.0. And it's, as it says, it's just a typical implementation of a blocks and connections language. As I've said, I am not much of a visual person, but that may be the thing for you. If you're not too familiar with programming, that may be a great choice for you. As it says here, .NET and C# is new, I believe new with 3.0. It doesn't say so. It's another language you can use, and you can use GD native / C++. C++ being sort of an extension of C, which C# is too, but in a much broader sense. I want to try out the C++ functionality because I have experience with C and C++, and I just kind of like the way that works, the way it all flows together. But this will be going over GD script, this section of the tutorial, and this episode of this video, the rest of this video. So we're going to want to set up, let's just call it scripting. I need to browse to somewhere, go up folder, repos, games, create folder, scripting, test. And I kind of like how it automatically translates that to a space and capital there. I think I will turn that to lowercase. So while that loads, I'll scroll up here. So we're going to add a child node from. It doesn't tell you to add a root node, but that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to add a root node, 2D scene, and under that I'm going to add a panel, and under that I'm going to add, if you just double click category, it will add a just a general example of that category. It won't expand the category, so you need to click the little arrow next to a category when you're adding a component like this. So I want to add a label. Okay, well first I want to enlarge this panel, move it over, label, put it about in the center, and a button, panel, new, control, and then, but there's no just button here. I mean, there is kind of, and it has base button, and then with that it has link button, texture button, and then under just general button it has checkbox for some reason. Check button, which is, I think that's a radio button, as it's called in like the Windows terminology. Color picker button, menu button, option button, tool button. But we would just want button. So you do want to double click the category there. Drag that down here, put it about in the middle. Now we're going to add text here. This is a label. Recenter. Button. Text. press me. Capital M, because button text is usually titled caps. Alright, so now we have a label and a button that are parented to panel that is parented to node 2D. So we will save the scene as say hello.tscn. It doesn't tell you to do this, but you're also going to want to go into project settings, set it as the default scene again here. Now we can run it, and it's nothing much yet, but we'll pop up the panel with the label and the button. You can see the button changes color when you hover on it, changes color again when you press it, but nothing really happens. Making something happen is what we'll be doing. So right click panel here and go to add script or attach script. And you need to give it, and by default it's GD script. You can change it to something else. We want it to inherit panel. Template is fine. Built-in script, don't need to modify that. We do need to change that. We'll may want to change this name. Say on window. Alright, so that loaded up something with some comments, as they're called, calling out some basic things about what you can do. You can define variables to hold data. Don't need that. This is a function that's called when the node enters the scene tree for the first time. So when it first appears, calls _ready here. This one is called every frame, and it provides a delta variable. That is the elapsed time since the previous frame. In other engines I've used, they call it DT. Both are short for delta time, where delta is a sciencey way of representing change. And we don't need this either. So got the script attached here, and we can click here, go back to this view. If we click right here, it will open the script back up. You can also go over here and click here, script under the inspector, and it will open it. And a note, if you do know about programming already, _ready is not the constructor. The constructor is _init. Now some of this would be gone over in the GDScript reference that it tells you to check. But it also says that it is short and will only take a couple minutes. That is blatantly false, at least if you're going to read the whole thing. If you're going to read up until where it cross-references, has an alphabetical index of everything, that's a couple minutes. If anybody wants me to look at it, I'll look at it. I'll read up to where it starts going over everything alphabetically. But for now, I'm just going to go over what is included here, which is a decent amount. And this is just sort of humorously representing the relationship between the node and its script. The node is basically, it's not a child of the node exactly, but it defines how the node interacts with its children and parents and siblings, which would be another node at the same under the same parent. The script inherits functions provided by that node. So if this had a script on it, this script would be able to use those functions too. So you pass around information by using signals in Godot. Signals are emitted when a certain kind of action happens. And they can be connected to a function of any script instance. They're mostly used in GUI nodes, but they can be used wherever you want. You can even define your own signals. So we will connect the pressed signal to a custom function. So we will click the button and then go over here to the node tab. And right here it says pressed. Now you can right click that, click connect, or you can go down here to where it says connect. And then you will have to pick a component, a node to connect to it. And there's only one that we can actually connect. That's the panel, and that's the one we want. And I noticed it doesn't actually tell you to click connect, but I'm going to do that. And that creates a function here, func on button pressed. And just it's empty, and it has, you need something in the function, so it just has pass, which is just does nothing. It's just like a no-op. It's a filler. I didn't notice that little symbol before. That's cool. And what's interesting is it tells you to type this out manually later in the I still don't know what to call these, page section of the tutorial. But when I type it out manually, it doesn't display that connection. So, but now it really is getting to the code. You will be using node.getNode, although it's typed as just getNode. It says delete everything under extends panel. Yeah, I pretty much did that. So we're going to, it tells you to do this and then change another part and then go back. I don't like that. I'm going to change on button pressed and then change the whole ready portion and explain everything I'm doing as I do it. So on button pressed, you'll get node, gets a node, label, and I really like the autocomplete. It has different strings even that you might want to use here. So label, tab to autocomplete, and then unlike default, you can type over what it fills in for you. So if you're used to pressing the right parent like I just did, then it will just type over top of that. It's a small thing, but I appreciate it. Label.text. So the text field of the label, we're going to change it, set it equal to the string hello. Once again, typing over top of the quotes there. I could just go somewhere else. Now we change function underscore ready. So we get node. Why is it complaining at me? Underscore on underscore button underscore pressed parentheses colon. This should be fine. Why is this not fine? Indented block expected after declaration of underscore ready function. Oh! Yeah, because I deleted that. It's highlighting where it finally detected that something was wrong. Syntax error. Alright, get node button dot connect. So this is a way of having a connection, and the tutorial seems to be saying that this is an alternate way of doing it, but it never tells you how to make the connection do anything with the just clicking things. But anyway, so we want connect pressed self. So pressed, obviously, is when it's pressed. Self is referring to itself or its parent. I'm not sure which. And then underscore on underscore button underscore pressed, which is, of course, referring to this function that we defined. Connected method for on button press for signal. Connect returns value. The value is never used. Alright, I may have messed things up by deleting the connection, the code that it shows signal stock. Disconnect. Alright, let's save that. This should be all that we need. Yep, and it changed. And that is not as centered as I thought it was. Oh well. So, a couple quick notes. GetNode refers to the immediate children. So button has to be child of panel. So panel script is on panel and it refers down to button. Button was a child of label, then the script would be label / button. If panel was still a if the script was still on panel. In fact, you can drag. I discovered you can drag something and parent it like that, or deparent it. Actually, I'm not sure if you can deparent it like that. Yeah, you can reparent like that. So if I make that change and go here to this change label / button, it even has it as a suggestion. Run it, it'll autosave. Also, nodes are referenced by name, not by type. Yep, still works. Still misaligned. Doesn't look misaligned here. I don't know why. So yes, the right-hand panel of the connect dialog is for finding specific values to the binding specific values to the connected functions parameters. You can add, remove values of different types. So that's talking about when I go here and click advanced, I believe is what they're talking about over here. Code approach also enables this with a fourth array parameter as empty by default. So that's talking about when I went over here, connect, I had pressed self and on button pressed. There would be a fourth argument here. That's what these items are called, arguments. That would be an array. and you can read on object.connect for more information. But for right now, that is everything. I hope you managed to absorb it. I will see you next time with loading. I'll see you next time with more scripting. Goodbye.